Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Max Got the Tracks, and today I have for you another episode of the PUFFCAPS to Master. So when we left off, I believe we hit Diamond, and then we hit like Diamond 4. We were climbing. Basically, we hit Diamond. That was the point. We started Plat 4, and we're trying to get to Masters. And right now we are in Diamond 4. So I'm going to take you through these games that you see here. And to start, we have for you a little Nami TF. So like I said, guys, this matchup not too great. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, by the way, check in the playlist on my channel. You can see both of the two episodes previous. They've gone honestly very smoothly up to this point. You can check my Runeterra AR to look at my win rate with the PUFFCAPS. First set of this game, you can see it's going pretty chill, not too much action. I'm kind of chilling, probably changing the music or something, because I do this all live on my stream. If you want to catch me finishing the series up there, I'm still trying to hit Masters with it. So, you know, it's turned out to be a bit more of a challenge than I expected, as I'm kind of stalling out around Diamond 1 at the moment. There's the college's swinging. We want to be very aggressive against Nami when we're playing PUFFCAPS, because Nami obviously has an incredible late game using the elusives and using Nami to buff those up. So it's very tough once you hit that point. So you got to make sure that you try to take her down as quickly as possible. You see they get a red card there and take out my Karina, but I'm not too stressed. You know, I've got my peddler. I'm taking some damage. I feel fine. You know, this is obviously going to be an uphill battle here. I think you're going to see me slam aloof to try to hit a Nami, and we end up taking a deep med. So I'm like, dang, that's not great. You see, I'm kind of in trouble. I slammed TEEMO to try to, you know, just cheese in some PUFFCAPS, and I think maybe I can use that flame spitter. They do a very silly Nami play where they try to snipe my PUFFCAP peddler or TEEMO, but instead it hits the aloof, and it would have been fine if it hit my Nexus too. And then I do a very silly play in return where I attack with my aloof, because I feel like either blocker, including Nami, I would have been fine with hitting. There you see they level Nami because they use that spell mana, so she's up to where she needs to be, and I'm still, you know, very much behind. But thankfully they just open attack there, which is like the blessing I needed to survive this game. If they would have developed there like they probably should have, I would have been under a lot more pressure, and I don't think I would have had the luxury to play Ava Achiever to be able to level my TEEMO on the next swing. I assume this is going to be a homecoming. And then I see them do a pick a card. They're obviously just making a huge TF at this point, but they still haven't used their Telstone target. But they end up homecoming my Ava, which is, you know, kind of fine, kind of rough, not a big deal at the end of the day. We see 2 flash bombs hit, so I'm like, perfect, that's great for my poison dart. Since they use the TF, like, they're going for a TF level, but I think what they're not really considering is that once I fill their deck up with PUFFCAPS, they really don't want TF leveled, which is something like I'm perfectly fine with. You see they drop a heavy metal there, and I have the stress defense to counter it, so a bit of good fortune on my end, and we get to swing in with both the TEEMO and the peddler. Because I know they're actually going for the TF level, they're going to be reluctant to block with it, even though I think it's probably a good idea from my perspective, because I know that they really don't want it leveled. At the end of the day, it's not like a threat, because I don't have like any 1 health units, and the stun is usually not enough of a problem for me to worry about. You see they double trouble there, and at this point I'm like, oh, they could definitely burst me down. I think I just go for Karina to try to have that last ditch effort, and she gets denied. So I'm like, shit, that's not good. I'm gonna probably get the block with everything to try to survive here. You can see I checked the TF and it's at 7, so I'm like, wow. But if I don't lose this turn, I'm actually feeling pretty good, because I still have the Ava Achiever Insider Knowledge, and I already saw the deny get proc there. So I'm trying to decide whether or not I should block with TEEMO, and I do believe that it makes sense, because if I don't lose this turn, I feel like I probably have good odds of winning. And there you see I Poke Stick to try to get 1 more proc off the peddler. They do a Wuju style to try to kill Karina, which at this point does not matter to me whatsoever. And they heal up their TF as well, which, like I said earlier, I'm honestly kind of happy if they're healing their TF. You see I top deck a Mystic Shot there, and I'm considering using it, but I'd rather use it to try to bait out the Notify on the insider, so I can get through the insider knowledge. There you see they drop a Thorny Toad, and I'm like, okay, that's a vibe. I definitely have the chance to play Insider Knowledge here. They're doing a sad Poro, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. I decided to hold both my spells while they recall their coral creature, and there I do decide to just send the Mystic Shot face. This seems like a good time to try to bait out the deny, but they do not bite. They just drop the coral creatures again, and I pass because it doesn't really seem like, you know, there's a point in trying to Insider Knowledge when there's a chance it can still get denied. But instead they drop below deny. I use my Insider Knowledge and we hit enough puff caps to close out this game. So yeah, also very funny TF levels, but that is where the recording cuts out because I have won the game. So yeah, bit of a good win there. And then next game you will see is against Morola. You can see we're starting Diamond 2 here, so we made a good amount of progress since the last episode. And we're playing against Nightfall on this one. Nightfall is one of those aggro decks that plays a lot of fearsome units, but it also plays a lot of small units that I can Pokey Stick and Mystic Shot. So it's kind of a crapshoot. I would say it's like a 50-50 matchup, with usually in Nightfall's favor, just because the Doom Beasts end up healing them out of the range of the Puffcap lethal in my experience. So I considered dropping TEEMO there and I decided to slam it because, you know, why not? I think like the threat of Vow Feast isn't real, and the Nocturne spell, whatever it's called, is not really something to worry about. And Piltover Peacemaker is definitely going to be a great spell to kind of quell their aggression. You do start swinging with the Conchologist as well, getting a bit aggressive. I'm fine trading my early units with theirs. It doesn't seem like that really matters. And here I'm really confident because they pass on 3 on 5 mana, and I'm like, oh, that's sick. That puts me pretty far ahead if I can level TEEMO this turn and get a lot of stuff going. But instead they drop a Lunar Shadestalker, so I obviously can't get TEEMO in unless I would Thermo Beam her. But instead there you see the Doom Beast, and I pretty instantly decide to send the the CAITLYN spell on it, the Piltover Peacemaker, because I don't want it to get procced by the Fading Memories and the Unto Dusks. But you see they are very cognizant of that and are able to protect it. I do see the leveled Diana as well here, which is a mildly concerning. I believe at this moment that they're not even going to bother trying to kill TEEMO because they have the Shadestalker blocking it, so I'm kind of worried for my Wump's life. I do end up taking the Cloud Stance because that is something they can trade with the Shadestalker, and there you see a second one, and I'm like, god damn, yeah, I'm never getting in this TEEMO. But the greedy part of me in the back of my mind is like, maybe I will be able to kill TEEMO, or maybe I will be able to get in TEEMO because I have the Thermo Beam for 3 here, so that would kill one Shadestalker, and then let's say I hit a Puffcap, I could do the Proximity Puffcap and kill the other Shadestalker. So the greedy part of my brain is like, maybe I still can, but instead I developed the Peddler, and I'm like, well, I can just Proximity Puffcap and kill the other one and it all makes sense. But I failed to use my Thermo Beam, which I feel like may have been a big detriment. And again, they pass on a bunch of mana, so I'm like cool with that. They end up hitting a trap, which is nice for me, but they do Fading Memories. I'm like, ugh, that's so annoying. Their Diana's leveled, these Doom Beasts are coming down. They kind of have everything you don't want to see when playing Puffcaps. I decided I needed another Chump Blocker, which I'm not sure whether or not that was true, but a Lightning Rush looks good to me, as it will allow me to both protect TEEMO and kill the last 2 health off of that card. And obviously I have to kill Nocturne here, which is what we were kind of concerned about. I unfortunately just didn't get many removal spells off that first Conchologist, so I have to use this cannon spell to try to kill the Nocturne, because if they swing in with that, I auto lose. And I take a lot of damage here, lose my Peddler, and I'm feeling not great about this game. They're going to take a second to try to decide how to sequence this properly, but they end up killing both my Peddler and my Chump Wump, I believe. Oh no, they actually let my Peddler live. That's nice, but still not enough. I do end up Thermo Beaming this one, and I'm like, cool. Maybe there's a play where I can like Thermo Beam the Shadestalker, but then I remember there's the Ephemeral blocking one anyways, so it's kind of a lost cause, like I said, to try to get that TEEMO down. But anyways, I think I try to, just in case, like, it's good to burn their Ephemeral anyways, because I assume they're gonna have to drop the Ephemeral one to block with, because they got it off the Shadestalker. Instead they Unspeakable Horror in my face, so I'm like, fine, whatever. And they drop the Shade Stalker that they get off the Unspeakable Horror, and at that point I'm like, well, you kind of got me. And I think y'all can see where this game is headed. Next turn they're just gonna do their Nightfall thing and beat me. They drop down their second Shade Stalker. I play a Karina out of desperation, but I don't have nearly enough puffcaps to get in. They drop a Owl. I drop CAITLYN as a blocker, but she can just get dragged by Diana, so she's irrelevant, unfortunately. And they Unto Dusk their Owl, and the Flash Bomb does not hit that, so I am pretty sure I'm going to die here from the Shade Stalker damage. And they Pale Cascade it, and I do not have any way to block. So yeah, very unfortunate. My greed definitely got the best of me there. I should have just played to remove their units and we would have been fine, but I was trying to peddle puffcaps too aggressively, so I lost that one. Unfortunate. Wait, where'd I go? Oh, sorry about that. And here's the next game we're going to see against another Nightfall. So here I'm like, okay, I get to get my lick back. Once you take an L with puffcaps, you're like, oh shit, I'm so behind on the climb. But this is my chance to make it back. So you see I'm all tabbed, trying to just probably change the music or something. Checking out this Nocturne Diana deck, I'm like, this looks like a pretty good start because I can do the Thermo Beam on their early units, the Pokey Stick on their early units, and I have the Peddler. So yeah, I just send that Thermo Beam on one because, like I said, I'm being hyper defensive here, just trying to get to the late game where I can do the Peddler chump bump play. They end up Dusk Petal dusting and dropping a Shade Stalker, which I'm like, whatever, they'll get some damage in. The good thing about this deck is that Puffcap Peddler is quite safe to get aggressive with, so you can just drop it whenever since they don't have any significant removal to take him out. They drop another Duskbringer and a Diana, so I'm like, that's cool. I almost considering attacking with the Peddler here, but I don't end up doing it, I don't think, because even though I have the stress defense, I'd rather use it more defensively, and I don't even want to use the Pokey Stick, so we just pass on everything right there. They do drop a Flight, which seems like a good Pokey Stick target, but instead I decide I should develop a unit first, or no, I don't do anything. I guess I want to hold up my stress defense, yeah. So that's kind of fair, you know. When Puffcap Peddler is like your most important unit, sometimes you just decide, alright, screw it, I'll just protect him at all costs. So we Pokey Stick the Flight there just to make sure that doesn't continue to get value, and a Poison Dart is actually really cute. And I have a couple options here, and I start with the Chump Bump because I can always aloof next turn, and that gives me an even better chance to hit their Nocturne, which is what we're really scared of. And aloof, the Chump Bump is a really great blocker as well, so all they can really attack with effectively is the Shade Stalker, which feels great to me. You see there I'm hovering the aloof, but I instead decide to go for CAITLYN, be a bit more aggressive, which I think makes a lot more sense because getting those flash bombs in against a deck like Nightfall is very, very strong, especially as we're approaching that Karina turn along with our Ava Achiever. You know, we've got a lot going for us in terms of like just being aggressive. And you see the Unspeakable Horror go down. I'm like, cool, that's gonna drain one. I don't know why I'm looking at Unspeakable Horror for 10 years. But I decided to just accept that, and then we can Poison Dart the Flight that is sitting there on the board. As Poison Dart is a slow spell, we have to use it pretty proactively, so, you know, send that there, decide not to try to rely on the Flash Bombs, which I think makes a good amount of sense. Next turn, they could like Dusk Petal dust out a Nocturne perhaps, so I do have to start being very anxious about that, because that is something that can beat me relatively easily, just because the Fearsome... like the reduction on the Fearsome blockers is very, very strong against Puffcaps. So you see there's a Doom Beast, which I'm actually pretty fine with, you know, just a 3-2 attacker, something I can pretty easily deal with. And I decided to drop aloof to try to, you know, just deal with whatever's in their hand. I don't even see what they hit, but I don't believe there's anything significant. They do a Stalking Shadows to grab a unit, and it ends up being a Shade Stalker, which, you know, it's just 2 damage, not a big deal. I don't think I'm as scared as the Shade Stalker since I was late game. We decided to just protect CAITLYN with the CAITLYN spell, Piltover Peacemaker, and we have a very good CAITLYN level up if we want to take it next turn using Karina, but I'm not sure if that's what we go for. Here you see I get the Proximity Puffcap leveled, and I'm like, well, that's really, really good. If I want to try to use that to kill a Shade Stalker, I definitely wouldn't mind. I still have very few Puffcaps in their deck, but I decided to just go for the Karina now because they don't really have a good way to counter the CAITLYN level, which feels pretty solid to me, because once we level CAITLYN, we're placing 4 flash bombs into their deck, so it really ramps up aggressively, which is nice. And they hit a flash bomb right there, which is pretty funny. And we end up getting fortunate, hitting 2 puffcaps and the final flash bomb. So CAITLYN levels, I do have the skin for her, big flex. I do like her little sniper sequence instead of the vanilla level. So you can see, oh wait, no, that is her vanilla level. I'm tripping. Whatever, either way. They do a Sky Shadow, and at this point I'm like very confused what happened, because there was no reason to drop that Sky Shadow, but they did not draw a puff cap or trap, unfortunately. So I'm like, I'll just use this proximity puff cap now on the elusive to try to preserve my health. It's a very, very unfortunate that they didn't hit anything there, and I couldn't have targeted the more healthy one, but you know, sometimes it is what it is. So yeah, you see there, I take a second to decide, and I'm just trying to make sure I take the right unit out here with that. Instead, I decide the Conchologist, and I see it get excited, which that can kill them, or it can protect my Nexus if they want to go wide with the elusives in some way. And the last card in their hand ends up being a Owl, which is not going to threaten me in any capacity. I end up get exciteding Diana just to preserve my CAITLYN, because that seems like a fun way for me to win. And I believe this is around the point the game ends. So they swing in, I block the Owl and peddle some more puffcaps, and we are sitting very, very pretty. I do have the open attack, or I can do yeah, the open attack actually wins me game, because the CAITLYN has to hit, and the purple berry shake will make sure that the remaining 1 damage is done. So yeah, fortunate top deck, but I think we would have had it anyways with the Ava Achiever. So yeah, that one was pretty clean. Got my redemption on the Nightfall matchup. And for the final game of this episode, I have for you a TF Annie one, which is going to be a slugger. You can see it took me 13 minutes to complete, and this is in double time, so you're gonna see it will take 7 minutes even doubled. So I mulligan there quickly. We're gonna skip ahead a little bit. At this point, I'm trying to see if this is an aggro deck or a control deck. You know, historically, any TF has been aggro, but the tricky thing about those 2 units is that they can be used kind of for either strategy, because they're so flexible, as Annie is quite aggressive, but she also has the Tibbers, and same with TF. But the heavy metal confirms that it was indeed a control deck, and they just heavy metal flock my CAITLYN, which I'm fine with. You know, it's not going on to a peddler. I have a second CAITLYN. I have a lot of late game already, but these thermo beams are getting a little bit bricky. I think what we're gonna see here is this chump bump and thermo beam or mystic shot on the zap spray fins, so we're pretty happy to just avoid taking damage, as this is a deck that has you know, a pretty punishing just like late game. And I think I'm gonna open attack and get 4 damage, but I forgot to consider Eye of Nagakaboros, but that's fine. Here you see I aloof Travelers to try to snipe any of their good cards, and I do hit a second Eye of Nagakaboros, which, considering how late I expect this game to go, seems like a really, really good thing for me, because we're both playing control decks. I'm very happy to try to take away some of their draw, and you see they do a blue card. Like I said, the most important thing in those control mirror matches is that you're the one who's winning the value war. So if I can handle a very crucial piece like Eye of Nagakaboros in the early game with an aloof, I feel great. Here you see I drop Conchologist to try to contest those spiders. I have a very Mimi line to go for Timeline's Timeline's Karina, but I instead go for the Neandroid, because the Neandroid is actually quite powerful with my mushrooms, and I end up doing the thermo beam on that TF just to make sure it doesn't level. I think that's definitely worth 2 of my mana. And you see I'm gonna end round there. I think for the round start, I definitely misplay a little bit by trying to decide what to do here. Oh no, I don't misplay. I dropped in the Android. It's a 2/4, so that feels really good. It's something they have to deal with immediately, but unfortunately it gets nicked by the Make It Rain, so it can get flocked at this point. But I decided to just go in with everything. These are all really good trades on the 2/2s, on the 1/1s. I don't mind blocking with those at all. We're just trying to minimize their house spider value, which is fine. They have a second flock. I'm like, cool, whatever. I didn't need that Neandroid anyways. It was just a distraction, and it worked. So there they whispered words, don't draw any traps, but they do get to drop an Annie. And I have 2 more thermo beam to use, so I'm like, that's cool. There's a good chance I could proximity puffcap any, and they draw some mushrooms there, so I'm very happy about that. You see I get a second aloof out of the 2 that are in my deck, so I'm like, that works. And you see I'm gonna block very aggressively here. I'm just slamming my cards forward. Yeah, they end up deciding to do a red card first, which is perfectly fine with me, as it opens up that proximity puffcap and we can just snipe out that Annie, which is great. And I still have 2 blockers that are pretty solid. They swing with everything. I'm very happy to use these before they die to another Make It Rain or anything smaller. And you see I Aloof Traveler, get a Zap Spray Fin, which feels pretty good, and I can do the Thermo Beam to take out their second TF. So at this point I've taken out 3 champions. I haven't seen any tie balks, so I'm feeling relatively fine. I do drop a CAITLYN because I'd rather they use the removal on CAITLYN than my Ava Achiever at this point. You see I just pass back. If they don't flock CAITLYN, I'm chilling, but there is their 3rd flock, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. So they're getting all the defensive spells out of the way, and I feel kind of safe to be able to send Ava out here. I do attack with my Aloof Travelers just to kind of trade into the spider, remove some of their aggressive options, because I want to make sure that I'm ahead on the board once I drop this Ava. And it was another opportunity for them to get to play cards, but unfortunately they do have a Disintegrate and a 1-drop. What is that? I don't even know what that thing is called. You get it off Katarina, the Blade's Edge. And I'm like, Jesus, you play Blade's Edge? I'm losing my mind a little bit at this point because this game has gone on for so long. And I see a Mystic Shot on a Zap and a Bogey Stick on the Spiderling, which seems fine. And that leaves me with 6 mana for their tie balk if they choose to try to proc it. But instead they end the round, and I decide that's probably a good time for me to end the round as well, because I don't have a wave to deal with tie balk if I put anything else down and they decide to level it. So another reason is because they don't want to play any spells unless they're removing units, it feels fine to just make them draw the tie balk via the countdown. So here you see I do Mushroom Clouds and just go for a Karina. Since I'm thinking I don't have much time, this feels like a very reasonable play to try to level my CAITLYN. And you see I hit 4 there, they drop their tie balk and I get to play CAITLYN. So at this point I've seen 3 flocks and a Disintegrate, so I'm like, what else could they possibly have to kill my CAITLYN? But unfortunately we're gonna see a 5th way to kill her. They do another Blade's Edge and a Death's Hand, which is the Swain spell. And I got a lot of flack for this play on my stream for not using the Thermo Beam and attacking with Karina here. But what I feel like they didn't understand was that there was likely a second tie balk coming. So I had to use the second Thermo Beam, or my 3rd Thermo Beam here, to actually deal with that tie balk. But I do regret not using it immediately. You see I get the proximity puffcap there on Annie. I definitely should have used the Thermo Beam in that situation to deal with the tie balk instead, because we're just eating too much damage of the 8. It's just too much. And unfortunately they're going to have a final Disintegrate Blade's Edge to take out the rest of my health. And yeah, very, very silly game. They had like just infinite removal, which, you know, against puffcaps that can be good. So yeah, that is where we leave off. I believe in the next game we're starting Diamond 2 again, and that will be on the next episode, so go watch today. I'm filming this on Tuesday and it should be uploaded by tonight, and then the next episode will be this Thursday. So I appreciate everybody for watching my road to masters using puffcaps, and until I see you next time, remember, I'm not responsible for your LP, and goodbye.